Hi, this is Mon Rasz and you are listening to my daily thoughts number 33. Today's reflections are about sound effects. In my daily thoughts number 3, a prerequisite for today's session, I talked about sounds, words and language for having an impact on the way we think, and I would like to use today's time slot to develop this subject a little further. Here is a brief story from the beginning of the year-long Iraq War, or invasion I should rather say. The story is from coalition soldiers in a tank entering the streets of Baghdad. Nobody is attacking them, and yet they shoot at and roll over almost everything that moves, civilians, mothers and children included. While this already by itself represents a horrible war crime, the key question for today's reflections is how the soldiers have been able to overcome the natural barrier present in almost every human being not to kill innocent people of peaceful behavior. Of course, prior to the unlawful action of occupying this country, they had been mentally prepared that the war would be just, that it is done in the name of preemptive striking, freedom and democracy, that the people they are going to attack are not actual human beings, but rather animals, and that it would be for the greater good of the world to eradicate this species, say Muslims. After that brainwashing, the barrier to not commit war crimes was almost non-existent anymore. But still there was something left and needed to be overcome. How did they do it? Loud, heavy metal music in the tanks did the trick. Which is, by the way, nothing new. Loud music found its application also in Vietnam and other wars. And by the way, different forms of sounds are also used as method of torture. This leads to the conclusion that sounds, including those parts of the sound spectrum that we define as music, can have an impact on the way we think, and therefore has an impact on the way we act. Just think about the background music in stores and shopping malls. But looking at this issue from a broader angle, one can state that words are nothing but sounds too. Of course, words are sounds that generate language predefined pictures or feelings in us. Like when you hear the word water or sun, you might imagine the noise and clarity of a river or the bright light of the sun. But at the end, the word water or sun are nothing but sounds. Let's take this one step further and look at the fact that independent from language, just the sound alone, say classic music, will generate similar feelings in us, whether we are American, Chinese or European. In other words, human beings are reacting to the same sounds in similar ways. Isn't this worth a moment of meditation and reflection? In order to prove that idea in some other way, I used Google today and looked for statistics about the best democracies in the world. After a while I found one, and it is called the Economists Intelligence Units Index of Democracy 2008. It lists the world's best democracies based on 60-some criteria. And the winners are: first place, Sweden; second place, Norway; third place, Iceland; followed by Netherlands, Denmark and Finland. And by the way, United States only places number 18 and the UK number 21 out of 30 nations considered true democracies. The previous years look very similar, the first 5 or 6 places almost every time occupied by the same nations. After that I googled a little bit more about languages and stumbled upon the missing link, if I may say so. The top 6 democracies have one thing in common. The language they speak is part of the North Germanic or Scandinavian languages, which comprises Icelandic, Faroese, Norwegian, Danish, Swedish and some part of Finnish. The only exception is Netherlands, a multicultural nation with language influences from English, French, German and Danish. Could we now say, let's all learn and speak Swedish to get on track to more democracy? Based on this sound idea, this would be the right start, but as I pointed out in Daily Thoughts number 3, the key answer to that would be that we also need to think Swedish. Here the word thinking does not mean the mere translation of foreign words into Swedish or the other North Germanic languages, but rather the full understanding and feeling of each word within the culture of that region. Repeat myself from the above referenced session. I would say that sounds can change not only our momentary behavior, but our overall approach to life, even our culture. If you live for a while among people that know nothing else but the sounds of four-letter words and the corresponding music, you start not only talking like them, but also adapt to their lifestyle. Taking these obvious facts, it suggests that English or American should not be promoted any further as world premier's language. The infiltration of English-American words in almost every language is, anyway and unfortunately, on the rise, and with it the underlying way of thinking. On one side, to think and speak English-American makes acting and songwriting so easy that one tends to want to use it in other areas as well. But on the other side, one has to become aware that true democracy doesn't need acting or lying at all, but the true commitment to the original content and meaning of the issues. Maybe in this respect it makes sense what I said in Daily Thoughts number 27. I always wondered why, in general, Americans are by far the greatest actors. What is it that they can make the role they play look so natural? It is as if a good percentage of the population is born for acting, no matter what ethnic group they belong to. Is it the language or the American way they are raised? I couldn't come to a full conclusion yet. But the fact is that the place where the greatest actors on earth live is, at the same time, the place where the greatest tombstones of democracy stand. The highway, as I described it in session number 4, leads to a global one global government, one global language, one global model of society, and one global business model, and also one global citizen, who is reduced to nothing more than just a mere number on the global spreadsheet. Is this the path to global happiness? Imagine a world forest of only one kind of tree, inhabited by only one kind of animal. Globalization is done for the global companies, seeking global power and control. Nothing positive can be derived from it for the individual citizen. Like we are told to diversify in our investments, we should tell our elected leaders to leave the unidirectional path of globalization, which equals global destruction, and to diversify, to deglobalize, and to foster regional, small business, cultural and ethnic interests, for the greater good of a multicultural society of mutual understanding. The problem here is that our elected leaders are no longer serving those who gave them the constitutional powers, but those who give them the unconstitutional monies. For today I thank you for your time. May the higher spirit help us evolve. Until the next Daily Thoughts, yours truly, Mon Rasz. And today's post-lectum is: think about globalization as a classic orchestra, where one instrument after the other is suppressed and over time replaced by a unisono, modern drumbeat. What will the music turn into?